Hi, I'm Laura Chandler, and this is my husband, Bill Sweeney, and we're the owners of Smiling Dog Farm in Lumberton, New Jersey.
So Smiling Dog is named after our dog at the time, Jules, and she always was smiling and happy, and everybody liked her, and Jules has since gone, but it was named after her.
She really did always look like she was smiling. We raise several types of animals. Right now we have chickens, we have a flock of laying hens, and we have sheep. I have a flock of 12 Gotland sheep that we raise for their fiber. Gotlands are actually a dual-purpose breed for meat and fiber, but we just have them for fiber. And in the past we've had many other kinds of animals. I've had horses, and we actually have cattle here now as well. They don't belong to me, they're
visitors.
They're visitors, but we like to have them here because we do rotational grazing on our pastures, and having more than one species of animal on your pasture is a great way to maintain healthy pastures. So we do have cattle here as well.
Yeah, we've done turkeys and
heritage turkeys
and bees as well. We did
Yes.
for several years, and we have some bees on the farm now that are being managed by another beekeeper.
Well, I have always loved sheep and admired them, the many different breeds. And as I got a little bit older, I realized that sheep were a great animal to have on a small farm because they're easy to manage. They are easy care animals. They're very independent. Typical day with the sheep involves mostly just moving them from pasture to pasture. During the grazing season, we move them weekly. From our sheep, we sell fiber only. We do not have meat animals or milk animals. Gotland sheep are shorn twice a year. They have a beautiful gray curly coat, and it's very silky and shiny looking. Gotlands are a rather unusual sheep in this country. They're fairly new to the US. So we sell roving, and I have some roving here, and you can see this is natural color, it's not dyed. Gotland sheep come in all shades of gray, from very light gray to very dark charcoal colored. So this is roving, and then I send some of the wool to a mill to be spun into yarn, and this is a natural colored gray yarn. Now the yarn, this roving is from all of my sheep combined, so it's a little bit darker. And the mill run that I have here, I had them separate into two different colors. And this is charcoal gray yarn. I also have some that I had the mill dye for us into this very pretty blue color. Gotland wool takes a blue or a dyeing quite nicely. I have to admit that I was surprised how much I loved them after I got them.
Yeah, they're great little animals.
I was thinking of them as utilitarian animals. I fell in love with the Gotlands. They are beautiful animals, and they're very friendly, they're very interactive, and they're funny. They do silly things. They're almost like goats or dogs. We had one who has since passed away, but I would swear that he was part dog.
Yeah, he would follow you around and paw your leg.
Yeah, they try to eat treats out of your pocket, and they come running when you go out. That was the only surprise. We were pretty well prepared. Sheep are very easy care animals.
And we did a lot of research first.
I grew up without being around animals, except for horses, which are kind of a different story. They're not really farm animals. So I learned about farm animals as I went along and got interested in farming as I was getting older and during my career. But really, having a career actually does inform your farming as well, because it helps you, at least for us, with our organizational skills and our skills in just bookkeeping and record keeping. Around a farm, there's never enough time to get everything done. Something is always going undone. So I think that we learned a lot about time management and focus skills. We took the class was done by Delaware Valley College, and it was really well done.
It was a really good class. It
Very
was a couple of weeks long, but it was run by a really talented guy who has been a shepherd both for large-scale farms and for small-scale farming. So we really learned a lot from that. The other thing that we did, I think, that helped tremendously was we took, from NOFA, we took 2 courses, and they were long.
Yes, so NOFA is the Northeast Organic Farming Association, and I've been a member of NOFA for probably 14 or 15 years. And about 10 years ago, we took a class from them called Exploring the Small Farm Dream. It's really a very good class to get you thinking about yourself, and if you really want to farm, and examining what it takes to be a farmer and looking at yourself through that lens. We took them before we even had this farm because
She likes to plan ahead.
Well, I had always wanted to be a farmer. I was interested in farming ever since college, and it's awfully difficult to buy a farm brand new, and I think a lot of people inherit their farms. So I wanted to make sure that farming was going to be right for us, what it took to buy a farm and run a farm. And I also needed to kind of learn what we should do as farmers, because there's so many different enterprises that are available to you. To people who are interested in starting a farm, I would recommend that you realize that it takes a lot of time, and it also is going to take a lot more money than you think it's going to take if you buy a farm that isn't already established.
We had a lot to do on this farm because it was it had just been a field crop farm, and we had to convert it to pasture. We got some USDA assistance. There are programs for new farmers. So that's the biggest thing I think that I've learned from the whole process. And it started by taking the class and doing a little research up front and talking to farmers. It's not like you have to be on your own when you do it. You don't want to do it on your own, because there's all kinds of things that are too numerous to mention that we have learned from other farmers and from the programs. Especially with animal care too, because if you talk to somebody that's had animals for a long time, they'll tell you what you're looking at. Before you get your animals, that you know where your local vet is that will work with that animal. And so you want a vet that's familiar and knows what's going on, because sheep or cows they're very different from each other, and horses.
I really found NOFA to be the main resource. I went to NOFA meetings annually every year for 15 years. And the workshops are terrific. After going to a couple of workshops, that's where I got interested in using chickens for eggs as a little extra income for the farm.
That's, I think, one thing too to keep in mind if you're trying to do it as a business, any farming, is it's going to take you a while to get customers. That's, I think, one of the harder parts. We were fortunate because even before we had the farm, we were selling the vegetable starts from our greenhouse, right? And we're still continuing that business here on the farm. That gave us some customers that we could talk to and say, hey, we're starting a farm now, and we're going to have chickens, and we're going to sell turkeys, and we're going to do all these things, and that gave us a little bit of help. But getting into the fiber market is a little difficult.
The other thing that I would recommend is that you do a lot of networking. How we networked was with the NOFA, but we also for 12 years have been selling our products at the Burlington County Farmers Market, and you're interacting with other farmers and you meet a lot of customers. Let your customers be your guide. See what they're interested in. We didn't really plan on doing an egg business, but we started with a few chickens, and the egg business kind of grew sort of organically. And so don't be afraid to try things that you may not have been interested in the beginning.
Yep.
Well, we're pretty well established now. In fact, we're finally to the point where we don't have big projects. We are currently enrolled in a couple of USDA conservation programs, and those are really what I have been working on. One of them is the rotational grazing, because it helps the pastures, and as we walk around you'll be able to see the pastures and see how the management of them can help your pastures. The other program that we're in is pollinator habitat. So my big projects coming up are to expand our wool and possibly our sheep business.